Hey, it's Tom and welcome to a new Synthesizer video. Hope you're fine and relaxed. Today on the menu, the latest Donner Essential product. It's the Donner L1 Essential. It's an analog synthesizer based on the Roland SH-101. It's inspired or even a clone or replica. And Donner has kindly sent over a unit for testing, including the triple thread, which is an analog multi-effects processor with an echo, phaser and distortion, made in collaboration with Third Man Hardware, a company owned by Jack White on the White Stripes. And it could, I think, pair very well with the synthesizer. And before giving you my impression with my pros and cons, and also a little overview of the engine, here's a first sound impression of the L1 synthesizer. Let's dive now into the L1 Essential, and as you can see, the designers try to make a more unique and striking design and not just mimicking the design of the SH-101 like the Behringer MS-1, which is very close to the original one. This one has a more different design and is also due to his two-layer system here, because now you can see it's an entire synth with the top side here the parameters and the bottom side the keyboard. But you can also change this. You can remove here easily the keyboard and then it becomes a desktop synth. But you can also put it again because it has here a magnetic system, and you can put it inside and it becomes again a keyboard synth. And also what is nice here, this keyboard is standalone because you have MIDI out, USB and then hold functionality here for pedal. And so it's a standalone keyboard, MIDI controller, and you can put it again to the synth and it becomes a keyboard synth. And it's pretty nice. And this magnetic system here transmits the MIDI data and the power, so it powers automatically both units. You can see it has a more unique and original design than just a mimic of the SH-101. But still, there are many aspects of the SH-101, like here the sliders and the knobs. And talking now about here the sliders, they are from the quality side, they are fine, but not high quality or very good quality. They could be better because they are a bit wanky here, so they are not that great. What I doesn't love here are the knobs here. They are very tight, as you can hear. You need to push them so they are not very smooth, and that's also same for LFO. I a bit fear that these knobs breaks pretty fast. Same goes here for the sliders on left and right side, for the VCA and for the glide here. They are also very fragile, and I have fears that they break in 1 or 2 years, but let's see. Back to the keyboard unit, it has 32 keys with velocity but not aftertouch. To me, the keys feels very good, the quality is here on point, and playing is very fun here, it works. And compared to my recently reviewed M-Wave SMK37 Pro, the keys are here more spongy compared to these ones, and I prefer the dollar ones, but it's a very, let's say, personal taste, but I prefer these ones. Then on the left side here you have pitch and mod wheels in form of touch wheels. Not my favorite, but I prefer here real mod and pitch wheels, but they work fine, and they're also visualized here. Then you have a little display here. Then you have a shift button, so additional here. So there's one shift for the synth and one shift for the keyboard here. If you press shift, you can adjust the MIDI channel, the curve of the keyboard, so a logarithmic, linear, exponential, and so on. Then you can also change the touch and the port, so where you output the data, so both, so USB and MIDI or MIDI DIN. That's also nice. Then you can change here the octave, so this is also very easy, and the buttons here are also illuminated, so also pretty nice. You can also change here semi, and you have a hold function. So if you're playing the arpeggiator, you can also hold here, which is nice. You can see it reacts here immediately to the hold. Then you have here the sequencer. It's very classic, very inspired also by the SH-101. You have 64 steps, and you can also create songs and so on. You can also add ties, resets. You have also an arpeggiator with various modes. You can go here from sequencer to arpeggiator. You can change the mode here. You can also go from 1 octave by shifts. You can then 1 octave, 2 octave, 3 octave. So this is also very easy here. There's also display, and I think it's bigger than on some more expensive Korg synths. And many people ask, is it now possible to save these parameters in patches because there's a display? The answer is no, it's not possible, and it's really a shame that Donna didn't take this chance to make it programmable. so they would be a big advantage compared to the Behringer MS1. And so now it's very tied to the classic Roland SH-101, also the Behringer MS1, which are very hands-on, and it's everything on the fly, and you can save patches. So that's a missed chance in my opinion. But the display handles different audio features. In the menu section you can change the songs, because you can change different patterns in songs. And you can also then load them here from different slots, which is pretty nice. Then you can also change the behavior of the envelopes and the LFO. You can change the retrigger, velocity, and so on. And you can also go here in the global section for calibration, the keyboard mode, MIDI, and more. So also the clock, which is a bit not perfect actually, because I had some issues, but I hope they will fix this in firmware updates. Yeah, and you can also see here the firmware. So this is here nicely made. This is the display, and let's now dive into the engine. And as you can see, it's very SH-101 like, but there are some cool additions, but also some downers. Let's start here with the oscillators. You have your classic waveforms with noise and sub-oscillator, and the sub-oscillator also has one minus octave and two minus octave, so like the original. Of course, you have also PWM for the pulse, and you can also modulate it here with an LFO manually or with envelope 1, so this works also great. Then one thing is to know is, you probably saw already other videos from Loopop or Starsky. They compare to the original Roland SH-101, and the engine is very on point. But what is not on point, and what I also compared it with one of my emulation that I have, is the noise, which has a different sound character, which is shame, because otherwise it's very, very on point. One new feature that they added here, Donna added, is in the VCO section. You have a pitch mod on the envelope. So you can route the envelope 1 to the pitch mod and create very, very interesting percussive sounds. Then we have here the VCF, which is again a 24 dB filter, and they use here the alpha chips, so for the VCO and for the VCF. And I think also for the VCA, they are clones of these Roland chips. You have frequency and resonance. Then you can modulate the filter with the envelope 1 and with the LFO, and you can also work with keyboard tracking. An excellent feature you shouldn't miss in the L1 is in the source mixer, it's the external input. However, it also unfolds a problem of the L1, it's the noise. More precisely, the digital display here spreads out digital noise to the analog engine. If you play it regularly at a normal volume, you didn't hear it that much. But if you crank up the volume, you will hear this digital noise in the background, which is very annoying. And it's more if you're using here the external input. First, yeah, you can use it for your classic feedback feature, so you go out of the main output and you go in, and you go out here of the traditional headphone output. Then you get this more beefier sound if you crank up the external input, what we know also from the Minimoog. But where you hear the noise a lot is if you use the external input to put in an external synth to process it here with analog filter, and then you go out and you process it further with an effect pedal, for example here with echo, phaser and distortion. And if you put here on the distortion, you will hear this noise bleeding a lot. Yeah, a lot, and that's an issue. I hope they can fix this somewhere. I don't know if they can fix it with firmware or a new version, but it's really an issue that you can also hear in my demo. Then on the modulation side, you have what is excellent on the Donner is you have 2 envelopes instead of 1. They are full ADSR envelopes. You can program in very easily here. And I already said you can go in the menu and then change the envelope settings here. You can retrigger them. You can also merge them. to get more that vibe of the original SH-101. You can also adjust the velocity and so on. That's a great addition here. Then on the modulation side, you have still all the same waveforms here, including random and noise. That's for me a downer because they could add here more waveforms. But what is great here, they added here auto rate, so you can go very crazy in modulation here. I have made a slightly spooky discovery. The Donner L1 has been unplugged for about 12 hours, so I went in the bed and then came back in the morning in the studio, and the LFO in audio rate mode is still blinking. Strange. Doesn't the L1 want to call home, or what's going on here? Yeah, then you have here a glide mode, so on, off and outdoor with the speed control. And on the right side here you have also the VCA with the classic envelope 2 mode, then with the gate mode to get more bassy sounds. Cycle mode is here the LFO mode of the SH-101, and an all new drone mode. Gives you a drone synth, which I also test for you. My impression of the Donner L1 is mixed. Sorry. First, with L1, Donner has succeeded in creating a very authentic sounding Roland SH-101 clone or replica. The oscillator and filter are very close, except the noise generator, which deviates considerably from the original. Since I don't have an original SH-101 to compare with it, I can't say if this is also the case with my unit, but I guess so. I also like that they have tried to modernize the design of the instrument a bit by developing a two-part magnetic system that gives you desktop and keyboard synth options. Just as positive are the neat additions like the second full ADSR envelope, the velocity support, the drone mode, pitch envelope option in the oscillator, perfect for drum sounds and more. On the neutral side for me is that you can save presets. Yeah, but they want probably to be as close to the original hands-on concept as possible, what I can understand. It would very probably also increase the price of the unit. If that's something you're looking for and you can do without analog, the Roland Boutique SH-01A and the IRA S1 are great alternative that sounds very close. On the negative side, there's the omnipresent noise bleed that comes from the digital control unit or display, I'm not sure. The noise is particularly noticeable and unpleasant when pairing the L1 with a distortion pedal or overdrive, as it supercharges the noise amount. Well, an SH-101 plus a distortion is pretty cool, and if I can do this on this, it's a pretty fail to me. I hope this can be fixed somehow in later versions. If not, it would be an issue that should be considered before purchase. Then the oscillator tuning and LFO waveform notes are way too tight for me. They must be more smooth in my opinion, and I don't have a good feeling on the durability of this. This also applies to the slider switch, which have a bit of a wonky feeling. There are also a few missing features and minor bugs I noticed during testing that can be fixed with firmware updates. For example, you can transpose a sequence or can turn individual steps on and off on the fly. But interesting, and it works, and it's implemented that way in the Arpeggiator. Talking of the Arpeggiator, it also loses from time to time the sync while changing chords. These are all software things that can be fixed easily and removed from the cons list when an update is available. Also downer for me is that they haven't expanded the mod options with the mod wheel. For now, it's useless because you can map it to parameters. So yeah. But the question of all questions, why should I buy the Donner L1? I think it's for people who absolutely want an analog synthesizer with the sound and workflow of the Roland SH-101 and who don't want to buy a vintage device for a lot of money. The desktop option might be an important consideration for some as well, since many studios are cluttered with keyboards. I'm honest with you, and sorry Donner PR team, you probably don't want to hear this. If they can somehow fix this noise bleed, I would recommend the Behringer MS-1 over the L1, because the noise is noise and it's not great to have this. Or pick one of the digital alternatives from Roland, which are also excellent modern SH-101s. Let me know in the comments your questions and opinions about the L1. I'm looking forward to read them. And as usual, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. It's free and it's a big support for my channel. Big thanks in advance for watching and your support. It's great to have you and hope to see you again very soon in the next video. Bye!